All right, this is Jeremiah with the Bigfoot Society podcast. Thanks for coming back. And I've got George Workman with me tonight from Flatsquatch Productions. George, pleasure to meet you. Why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah, for having me on. I've been uh, I've been researching Bigfoot and those kinds of cryptic entities. I'd say since about 2013 is when I kind of really got curious into this field. By profession, I'm an IT professional,
Okay.
but strictly, for this kind of topic, that's about when I started, 2013. Yeah, we've had all kinds of crazy experiences. I started out just curious, like most
Hmm.
people. I kind of got sucked into YouTube and things like that, and that I wanted to see for myself. And we started having things happen. So I got the bug,
That's awesome.
and
That's awesome.
and then I've been doing it ever since. I map reports. I try to help people kind of break into the topic. Just sharing what I know about things. Um, Currently, I've recently started a YouTube channel and got on Facebook and started
Hmm.
groups. And I think I met you on Reddit. That's a new one for me. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
just
it's
tried.
a new one for me too. There's some that R slash Bigfoot is an interesting animal in itself, right? Yeah, some good stuff in
Yeah,
there though. Yeah.
it is. It's really nice. So I thought
Yep.
it's kind of a tough crowd in there, but
A
that's
little
fine.
bit. Yeah, but that's good.
But
We love you, Reddit. We love you. So,
yeah, yeah, I like the group or the Reddit thread or subreddit, whatever it's called. And yeah, I just making videos. I go out into the woods. I do this too. I don't just talk to people about it. So
which is fantastic. Yeah, and that's awesome. Like your YouTube channel has a lot of really really cool stuff on it. You definitely get out there and maybe to lead you a little bit, but I mean, you're from the Western Pennsylvania area around Chestnut Ridge, which should set off some bells in the listeners' ears, depending on what other things they've seen. But um, that's a pretty cool area. I'm from Western Mass myself, but I've been through PA, and it can get pretty wild out there, especially in that corner. So it's very cool. I
yeah,
Go ahead.
good. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a long history. Of the Chestnut Ridge. In the 70s and 80s. Stan Gordon was talking about UFOs and Bigfoot.
Hmm.
Taking reports from the state police. The state police. There were so many reports there at that time. The state police would just send them to Stan Gordon. And then, Stan Gordon had multiple groups, and that evolved into Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. And that's the first group that I actually joined
Okay.
and started researching reports. So yeah, and there's still reports there to this day. I just had somebody send me a cell phone recording of something howling off the ridge from downtown Derry, 2 weeks
Really?
ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
the guy was just, it's in the shutdown right now, so things are kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And he started hearing this noise outside of his window and just put his
Yeah.
phone out and started hitting record. And wouldn't you know it, the sound that he sent me was the same thing that I recorded 10 miles from my house, which isn't
Really?
that far away from, 2 years ago. So you can't always put your finger on what these things are. Everyone has their own opinion, but I have a good feel for what I think is not normal,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what
Yeah.
he said.
Yep. And you have some on your channel, you have some really crazy audio. I mean, it sounds cool. So the listeners definitely need to go check that out. I mean, it is from a few years ago. I think we're talking about the same video, but it's solid. Like I was kind of taken aback by the sound of it. It was good stuff, man. Um, I've also heard you talk of an interesting story about um, how you first back when you first got into Bigfoot, and it has to do with your now wife, and how she's good to go. Maybe tell that story about what your honeymoon entailed, you know.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I got sucked into Bigfoot from YouTube. I found
Yep.
this channel, Facebook Find Bigfoot, and I probably watched 100 videos, and I didn't really think about Bigfoot much. I mostly paid attention to UFOs and stuff like that. But I started watching all these videos, and I'm like, wow, this. Why is there 100 of these videos? They look so similar. They're very
Hmm.
shaky. So I said, this is probably these can't all be fake. So we decided, okay, let's do something fun for the honeymoon. Let's go on a Bigfoot trip. I didn't know what to do, so I just Googled it. And there was at Salt Fork State Park, they had
Yep.
this event for new people or whoever, to go there and have a Bigfoot camping trip. So we went there. It's a few hours from my house.
Okay.
Yeah, and we kind of you just show up, you start camping like anybody else, and next thing you know, it's nighttime, and they're like, "Let's go." I'm like, "Where are we going?" But
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
just
where are these
separated us into
Bigfoots? Yeah.
teams. Where are we going? So
We're gonna
we
Scooby Doo
we
this or what?
separated cars. Yeah, it was very strange, man.
Yeah.
And we just get into cars and start following people. We start going out into the woods and
Wow.
just walking. I'm in one team, she's in another team. It's dark.
Okay.
We have flashlights. And I walk probably a couple 100 yards, at least in my team, and I start hearing wood knocks. And I know what that is
Yeah.
because and they were just right there, and I thought, okay, what's going on? Is this really? And it was just interesting. We just hung out there for a couple hours. Came back. My wife was pissed off because she got separated into another group, which is typical. But in her group, her and the guy next to her, we're kind of walking single file in the
Yep.
dark, you know, in a field that's not mowed. It's just this weird place. And they started hearing heavy footsteps,
Wow.
and I mean, you can imagine heavy footsteps. That's not something I ever experienced, but it's kind of freaky, especially in this environment. And that guy grabbed onto her arm, and they were they were pretty scared, man. And so we ended up regrouping back at the camp that night. This is the first night we ever did this. Just
Okay.
show up, go in the field, wood knocks, footsteps, and so we're sitting there camping, and I'm trying to sleep, which was kind of awkward. And then I heard this scream, this like percussive, reverberating scream,
Wow.
just at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh
And
man.
you know how it is when you sleep somewhere and you're not really sleeping that well, and it just, I don't know what it was, but it didn't
Wow.
sound normal. She heard it too, and I asked her
Oof.
about
Oh
it. It
man.
was scary, man, because you just, you put yourself in that context, and I don't know. It probably doesn't sound like much, but it was to us at the time, and that was our first night.
No, dude, nothing good happens between 3 and 4 in the morning. Like that's when the weird stuff happens, right? Man. Hmm. Yeah, and you're half asleep, and wow, that must have been freaky stuff. Uh,
And you know what the funny thing is? The next morning we told everybody, and they
yeah.
told us it was a woodpecker. So I guess woodpeckers are up at 3 in the morning
Yeah,
screaming,
yeah, I
I
guess,
guess.
right. Yeah. Yeah, who knew? Hmm, that's interesting. um, so I believe I've heard you mention too that so you've been on multiple expeditions, is that correct?
That's
Like
correct.
more than 10, something like that. Like it's a lot. Or
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what the definition of an expedition is.
that's
I
a good
go
point.
out
That's a
at
good
least
point. Yep.
once a month, with my buddies,
That's
maybe
awesome.
2 or 3 other people, and just hang out for the night. I guess on extended trips, a couple days. Yeah, definitely more than 10. A couple times a year, I'll do something
Okay.
like that where it's
That's
a
cool.
lot of people.
Very cool.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you've I believe you've been on actual like BFRO uh trips, correct?
Yes, last year I went on my first BFRO trip. Actually, that honeymoon trip was
Yeah.
there was BFRO guys there
Okay.
too, so it wasn't an official one, but they helped out. But yeah, last summer I went to Ohio and did a BFRO trip, and
Oh wow.
I actually casted my first footprint there. It was actually really good.
That is cool. That's cool. So during the expedition you got to cast a footprint. That's cool.
Yeah, they had a sighting the night before. It was a whole
Wow.
the sighting. I could tell you about it if you want. You
No, I
know,
was actually going to just lead into that. Would you mind painting the picture of what that expedition was like and what it entailed?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it was 2 or 3, probably 3 days, 3 nights in South Central Ohio. I won't
Okay.
say where it was because they're
Sure.
still going there.
Yep.
Um, but so there was a probably 50, 60 people there.
Wow.
Um, it was well organized. It was a location where the homeowner had ongoing activity in a state park, and they had
Hmm.
been researching it, and they felt that it was currently active, so that's why they chose that location. So there was 3 campsites a few miles apart from each other, and you were able to select which one you wanted to go to. So i
Okay.
i scanned all of them first, and I'll tell you what, man, if you follow Bigfoot stuff, I'm sure you've heard of tree structures, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So this place was just off the hook for tree
Really?
structures. I could just drive down the road and see them, left, right, left, right. They were all over the place. So to me, that
Wow.
was a good indicator that this is hot. So I camped right next to a spot that had tree structures all over the place,
Man.
and we set up the first night. They split us up into like 6 groups, and
Okay.
I like to be stationary at night. I don't like to walk at night because I can't see, and
Sure.
I don't. I think the value for me is more stationary because I can record
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
and see and whatever. But the group that was set up right near where I was camped had a sighting, and they saw it on a thermal. There was like 3 people,
Oh man.
so that was big news. And I actually figured out where it was. It was right near where I was camped, which wasn't where I was for the night. But so yeah, so eventually the last day I made my way back to, I figured out where they saw it because they didn't tell
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And and I found tracks all right near where they said they
Oh
saw it,
man.
and
That's
all kinds of
awesome.
structures. We got 2 footprint casts.
Wow.
I mean, there was bears there. I think there was a bear walking through my camp, but I mean, it's as you know, it's not easy to get footprint casts, especially ones with toes in it. You know, it's hard. So I was
Yep.
happy. It was pretty fun.
That is awesome. That is that's a cool story. That's cool stuff. Um to give a little bit more to your background as well. So you're an IT professional. It sounds like you're heavy into data and you've done a lot of really cool projects, kind of compiling data to do with Bigfoot, but also with mountain lions as well. Would you mind sharing some info about that? I think that's very interesting.
Yes. So just this past October, I had a guy that lives on the Chestnut Ridge, same
Hmm.
place that we had just talked about,
Okay.
and he messaged me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come out to my house." And I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And he said, "Just wanted to talk about Bigfoot and stuff like that." And then he mentioned that his friend, his neighbor, the guy that lives next door, said that he hit a mountain lion with his car and killed it.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, that sounds pretty
Hmm.
interesting because, as you know, in Massachusetts and almost every other eastern state, according to state officials, there are no mountain lions here.
It's extremely rare.
Right? There's one from
Yeah.
Connecticut, what, 10,
Yep.
10 years ago.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, well, I thought he had a picture of it. Okay. He actually didn't have a picture of it, but we did an interview and just got his story, and that's how I got into mountain lions. So I started looking into it, and here it turns out, this is all new for me starting last year, that seeing a mountain lion in Pennsylvania or any of these other states is kind of like seeing a Bigfoot. If you tell somebody
Yep.
that, they don't believe you.
Wow.
You could call the state and they'll come out and they're just like, they don't exist.
That
You
blows
saw a
my mind.
bobcat.
Yeah. That blows my mind.
So I was on a mission then. I thought, you know what, I can do this just as easily the same as I do Bigfoot. So I started mapping all the reports in
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And we have over 200, 250 reports just from, the past 20, 30 years. And I mapped them out. You can see the clusters, you can see the patterns. And then,
Man, that's awesome.
luckily enough, I think you'll appreciate this. I thought, well, there's got to be other people that have done this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found a bunch of people, researchers that have did what I attempted to do, but much better and on a bigger scale. But it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I'm trying to
Wow.
find these people on Facebook, and
Yep.
I actually did find them. Here, there's a woman. Her name's Helen McGinnis. She lives in West Virginia.
Okay.
She wrote a book about this in 1982
Wow.
for because there was a mountain lion that was killed. It was shot. Officially, the game commission was there. There's a picture of it. There's no doubt about it. 1967, they shot it.
Man.
So this lady wrote a book about 300 reports, all the mountain lion sightings, but she wrote it in 1982, and she never published it because she didn't want people to know.
That she
So
was
she gave me the book.
crazy. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. and,
Oh
and I will
man.
say that she doesn't even believe that they're here anymore. She used to, because she did all this research, but
Yep.
she kind of just gave up because they never acknowledged it.
Wow.
But
How wild.
but there's enough
How
of them.
wild.
You know, I think they're here. I think they are. I don't think all these people are making it up or
Yeah.
misidentifying bobcats.
No, no, a bobcat and mountain lion is way, way different. That's a long tail for a bobcat. Oh man, how crazy. Yeah. So I
And
live
and
in the go ahead.
even in Massachusetts, I was going to say, in Connecticut, there's groups that pop up,
Yep.
sightings.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah. So growing up in so I grew up in like north central western Mass. And our town, I remember once we had a mountain lion come down to the center of town and everyone just freaked out. I now live in central Iowa in the Des Moines area. And about, I want to say 5 to 6 years ago, we had a mountain lion get into the center of Des Moines and they shot it. It was at an elementary school and it was stalking the kids outside at recess. And like the police just shot it, of course, because you can't have a mountain lion stalking your elementary school kids in the center of the city. But like that was nuts. But yeah, you don't mess around with mountain lions, definitely.
And do you know what the official stance is in Iowa? Do they acknowledge that they're there, or do they kind of?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have to look into it. Yeah, I it's not a thing where we're saying like, oh, there's mountain lions everywhere. Like it's definitely not like that. So I would say they're not seen often. Yeah,
Okay.
probably. Um, yeah, yeah, I have to say probably not often, but yeah, it's cool. Little your database you got going is pretty cool, and you've got Facebook groups that keep that information together, right? If you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Yes. The Bigfoot group is called Bigfoot Dogman Info Library.
Mm-hmm.
That's our Bigfoot group that I did first, and then the mountain lion group is called um, Mountain Lions of Pennsylvania Info Library. Kind of the same
Okay.
naming
Cool.
structure.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
But
That's
we
awesome.
talk about any of the eastern states. We have
Mhm.
thousands of people in these groups, and
Yeah,
anybody that wants to talk about it can share
that's
information.
awesome. I was looking through your Bigfoot group the last few days. Some really cool stuff in there. Um, and man, like oh, and one of your somewhere you referenced there was it the Carbondale white Bigfoot? That video is a trip. I'd never seen that before, and that just like I was like, nah, no thanks, man. I went to school for a year in the Scranton area of Pennsylvania, so I know where Carbondale is, and it gets pretty wild out there as well. Like, oh man, can't imagine seeing that
Yeah,
dude.
that video, it looks pretty realistic to me. Of course, any video you see is a matter of opinion of what you think is real or not. But there's quite a few white Bigfoot reports. There's two or three right near that one in
Okay,
Carbondale, and there's probably 7 or 8 other ones in Pennsylvania.
man.
And yeah, it's that. Oh, I know I was going to tell you. There was a guy who, you know how Reddit is or Facebook. You just pop in and people ask, "Hey, has
Yep.
anybody seen one here?" And this guy just popped in. I didn't know who he was, so he started telling his story, and he described being at a campground near Carbondale,
Okay.
um, around the same time as the video. 'Cause I'm not sure the exact time, but he said that they were in a camper, like one of those old VW kind of
Mm-hmm.
buses,
Okay.
and they had been in there all day and they hadn't left. They were just in there camping. And nighttime came, and there was a couple other human beings, like camping, hunting, fishing, not too far away.
Sure.
And he said that what he observed with this was a white, hairy creature that was
Wow.
stalking these people,
Oh
and
man.
he was
Ooh.
watching it from his camper, you know,
Oh boy.
and he said that it was real jerky. It kind of moved and it would hide behind trees and duck. But what he said that is, he got to witness the supposed Bigfoot, just kind of messing with these guys for
Yeah.
hours,
Right.
and
Wow.
he was really freaked out. And I showed him that video that you just mentioned. He said,
Yep.
"Oh man," he said, "I got chills." He said,
Wow.
"That's what we saw."
Oh man. Because it's like then you
So
think, okay, is it curiosity or what is this Bigfoot doing? Is it messing? Is it curious? Is it hunting? Like, oh, it could be all sorts of stuff, right? Like that's pretty wild. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
you had alluded to in a message, or you had tagged me. So you've been recently out to Minnesota and you have some cool stuff to share, it sounds like, or that you could mention.
yeah, yeah. I could tell you about that.
All right.
So my friend Randy, he's lives up in Minnesota, and he's been
Okay.
communicating with me for probably the last year or so. And how I told you in Southern Ohio, all those tree structures
Yeah.
that I could just see, and then from the road, and then when I went into the woods, I found a lot more.
Okay.
So at Randy's place, it's very similar, except there's more, a lot more. And I kind of took on like a sort of a consulting role, just to he would ask me questions. Hey, what do you think I should do? Here, this, and then he had so many pictures. I thought it was a good idea to organize all these things. So we've kept in touch, and he keeps me abreast on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And during this shutdown period, I thought,
Right.
I thought it's a good time to use my vacation. I'm going to go up there.
Cool.
Screw it. It's
Yep. Yep.
18 hours away, but I'm going.
It's a trip. Yep.
So we went, and I have thermal, I have night vision, I have trail
Oh, nice.
cameras. So
Okay. Yeah.
I thought, okay, let's do this. So I set up. I have 5 cameras, 5 trail cameras, different kinds, and I set them up at his property. And I had them running for 3 days on a time lapse mode.
Oh, wow.
So they weren't in infrared. They weren't infrared sensitive. They
Okay.
weren't capturing motion. They were just taking pictures every so often.
Sure.
Every 30 seconds they would
Yep.
take 2 pictures.
Okay.
And we went. We were there for 3 days, and I saw all the tree structures that he had showed me in person. He had reported there was a sighting that he had a week before we had come. So I decided to put one of the cameras up right where things were going on.
Smart.
And yeah, we got some stuff on our cameras, which I was kind
Really?
of surprised. But we got it. The first night we were there was UFOs buzzing around the whole night.
No way.
I mean,
Wow.
for hours.
Really?
We look up. There's just stars flying back and forth,
Oh
kind of
boy.
cutting through.
Wow.
I mean, they weren't close, but they were flying around. So I got those on video.
That's
I
awesome.
probably got 10 videos of that. I mean, that's not
Wow.
often you get videos of UFOs.
No. Not really.
And
I
then,
don't think it is. That's worth 18
so,
hours right there, right?
right. And then I got on one of my trail cameras on the time lapse mode. I got a picture of a UFO, which I think it's a UFO.
Wow.
It's a round circular object in the daytime, in the sky, and the reason I think it's a UFO is because my camera was set to take 2 pictures,
Mm-hmm.
right? 1, 2,
Okay.
within a second. 1, 2.
Oh, I see where this is going.
There's
Yeah.
only 1 picture of this thing. It's not in the second picture, and you can zoom in on it. There's no propeller,
Yep.
right? There's no tail. It's
Yep.
just this round circular object
Oh my
that's
goodness.
there.
That's awesome.
And then I also got this dark figure right where he told me that he had seen it.
That's
And
by the power lines, that picture, is that right?
that's right. Maybe
Yep,
you've
I
seen
saw
that.
that. Yeah, that is very cool because not to steal your thunder, but you have someone go out to the same area and you're like comparing. Yeah, it's very, very legit.
And you know what? I'm not going to say it's Bigfoot because I can't prove it either way, but I
Sure.
can just tell you what I've seen. And
Yeah.
so that power line, it's 30 yards across. It's
Okay.
125 yards away. But there's also a 3-foot drop, which I didn't realize in that post that you saw.
Oh, really?
So I could compare me, which is on the reference.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same size as me, but it's cut off. So
No way.
it's either a black bear,
Mm-hmm.
that walked across hidden under the 3-foot drop,
Right.
and then stood up for one picture, 6 feet tall.
Just randomly.
Or, it's something else, right?
Wow.
And it could be a bear. It definitely could be, but it was exciting to get that.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
We also got orbs too, but hey,
Yeah,
I'm going to put out a new video.
Right?
It was a lot.
That's a lot.
So,
yeah. That's a lot to take. Oh, but UFO and Bigfoot, they seem to go together usually, like peanut butter and jelly, It's crazy.
and you know
right?
how it is. Like most
Yeah.
people just have a story. We actually have pictures this time.
Yeah.
So I have some evidence to show. So I'm happy about that.
I'm curious, and you don't have to get into super details, for safety of this gentleman, but like, is this southern Minnesota, northern? Just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, his group is called Randy's Bigfoot Research on Facebook.
Okay.
And it's north central Minnesota.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
That's where it is.
Very
so
cool.
If anyone wants to join, he posts videos all the time.
That's awesome.
So
very cool.
You can see them for yourself.
That's awesome.
And we will be doing a documentary about this, all the evidence that I.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. I was looking through. You have a really interesting documentary on Flatsquatch Productions. I like it. It's really cool. Can you give me? It's about the research work of a certain gentleman. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, no, but if people haven't gone to your YouTube channel, definitely go and check that out. There must have been a ton of work that went into putting that together.
Um, yeah, it really the work was done by my friend John Redchun. That's who
Okay.
it's about. It's called Redchun on the Ridge, and it's in
Okay.
Derry, Chestnut Ridge, same
Sure.
place. He's been going there for 15 years, man, and he's the real deal. Like
Wow.
we're talking a guy that went out every morning, like 4 or 5 times a week to this place
Man.
to do this. And that's where I got a lot about my ideas for these cameras and where to put them and the settings. But if you saw it just at the end, I mean, he's got A+ footprints. He's had 2 sightings. He's got 5 or 6 different heads and faces captured
Oh, wow.
in the pictures. You know, so he was just somebody that people can look to. As in my opinion, is a really good person that really tried his best to get evidence and see them.
That's awesome.
And he even missed them a couple times. Like his one sighting, he had his camera in his hand and he didn't get it, man. He was too
Hmm.
shocked. Like he didn't know what he was looking at. And by the time he did, it was gone.
Yeah.
And
It
people give
happened
him a
so
hard time.
quick. Yeah, from what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Looping back to we've mentioned stick structures a few times already. Um, yeah, I'm sure most of us have seen pictures of them, but just as someone who's seen so many of them, what are the main things that when you're going out on these expeditions, and what are the main giveaways that you're looking for to know that this is a stick structure from a Bigfoot and maybe not a blowover or just a fallen tree? What are the main giveaways that people could look for to know the difference, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really good question, especially for casual observers and
Yeah,
hikers. If you're
yeah,
just hiking on a path, you're just driving down a road. If you see a pinned arch, which would be a tree that's kind of bowed over,
okay,
and just the tip of it, a lot of times they're still alive, but just the tip of it will be under deadfall,
hmm,
and it's keeping the whole thing in place. So it's a huge kind of bent over arch. Those are the easiest ones to see amongst the other normal trees that are standing up. There's some that kind of just fall over that way naturally, but the tips aren't pinned under other trees. And if you study the environment that tree might be in, most of the time you'll be able to tell that didn't occur naturally, that it looks like somebody with
okay,
hands manipulated
yep,
this
yep,
to look like that. So because it's, if you see an arch shaped tree, it's not natural. Like most of the trees are standing up or slanted or at some weird angle, but a pinned
okay.
arch will really jump out. So that's what I would say to look for.
That's awesome. Very cool. Thank you, thank you. What's coming up next? What do you have any plans for future trips or expeditions, or what's coming up next for George?
Let's see. This year we have the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project, which is Mary Fabian's group. She has a group camp out.
Okay,
That'll
cool,
be a week long in July, so that'll be
nice.
fun.
Hmm.
Um, we also have a mountain lion trip planned for Mishaw State Forest. I got an inside tip there, where to go. There's a guy in the '90s who told me that he got a video of a mountain lion, and the game commission took his video. And
Wow.
the funny thing is, I was there last year, and I told my buddy who researches there, I told him to go to this spot, and here a year later, some other guy tells me he's got a mountain lion there. But yeah, so we're going there in August or late
Okay,
August, I think. And depending on how this closures have changed a lot of people's plans.
exactly. Yep.
So a lot of my stuff will just be local. We always go out and put out cameras almost every
Okay.
weekend, different places. So that's always ongoing. A bunch of videos coming up. Like I said, that documentary, and Yeah. So how's the Bigfoot? How are things going for you in Iowa? Have you had any experience or?
Um, there's there's an Iowa, believe it or not, there's an Iowa Bigfoot group. There's not a lot of action that comes out of it that I've seen, and I'm trying to make my connections right now because it's still kind of new for me. There's a great episode that Shannon LeGros from Into the Fray um, put out about experiences in Iowa with Bigfoot. It's crazy. So, I mean, well, here's the thing: if you go to southeast or southwest Iowa and you're driving along, it's not flattened corn. It literally looks like. Have you ever been in Vermont before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, just imagine the hilly roads of Pennsylvania. Maybe not the crazy ones, but uh, you can imagine that you're in New England really quick. So there's definitely spots for these guys to hide in the southern part of the state. Now, where I am in kind of north, mm, maybe I don't know in the middle of a cornfield, but you know, um, my my things I like to get the story uh, behind the people that are in the community. I enjoy doing that. Eventually, I want to get more into going to festivals. Right now, we have a local festival in Van Meter, Iowa, that I go to every year about the Van Meter Visitor. I don't know if you've ever looked this up. You need to look it up. I'll give you the short version. Pretty much in the late 1800s, there's a pterodactyl creature with a beam of light coming out of its head that terrorized the town. The town people chased it into a mine on the outsides of skirts of town and then blasted it. But it's still seen today. And there's kind of a fun little festival we have every year, and like Jay Pachochin from Wisconsin was there last year, and Linda Godfrey, Dogman, of course, she was there, and it's just kind of a fun thing. So as this podcast grows and grows, I want to start getting into those opportunities of maybe going to Ohio Bigfoot Conference or going out to the Pacific Northwest, and actually getting into stuff like you're able to do. So thank you for asking me that. That was really nice. Uh, at this time, do you mind if before we maybe wrap things up, but would you be able to I guess plug what it is that you would want people to follow you at? If you have any your top content that you're really proud of, and I already know what the answers are, but just go ahead and throw that out there so people can follow you, George.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, to check out our videos really at Flatsquatch Productions
Awesome.
on YouTube. That's our channel. And the Bigfoot Dogman Info Library on Facebook. Just if you need help or need questions. I know some people in Iowa and I know some places to go. So if you,
I'd be interested in that. Yeah.
I
That's
think
that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yellow Creek State Park, is that in Iowa?
Um,
I'm pretty sure that's a
I'm
spot.
sure it is.
I'm
Let me
pretty
write it
sure.
down because I'm going to look it up.
But yeah, that any kind of questions like that, people can come in our group and say, "Hey, where can I go?" And we'll
Yeah,
help you.
definitely.
You know.
Very cool. Very cool.
But thanks a lot for having me on.
Yep,
This
I'm
was
gonna look up
great.
that Yellow Creek State Park. That sounds cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks again, George, for coming on. We'll have to have you on in the future for an update of what happens with Flatsquatch Productions in the future. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and feel free to share all your podcasts and videos in our group as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That'd be great.
Awesome.